Astrid, this 3D mapping technology, this LiDAR tech, it's been around for some time, but it has yet to be used up until now to actually study the almond root system, especially in the way that you're doing it, where you examine the entire root system. So, what is unique about using this technology to study those systems?
Yes, so what we are really doing is we're using compressed air, so hydraulically compressed air to blast away all the soil from the mature root system. And that allows us to use the LiDAR that is now available on the iPhone to actually go under the tree. So we can get a complete 3D view of the root system from the inside out. And that's the LiDAR technology has been around for a while, but since it's now available in a very easy, compact handheld mobile format on the iPhone, it allows it to go under the tree. A lot of the work is done just digging out the root systems in the first place. But once we have that, it now actually gives us a chance to really look at how the root systems, and particularly the mature root system, is developed once the tree is mature.
Certainly. And, the research delves into irrigation practices, particularly in those early years of tree growth. I'm curious, what have been some of the more surprising findings, if you will, from your research about how some different irrigation practices actually affect almond root development?
Yeah, so what we are very curious about is how early treatment of the trees, for example, irrigation practices that provide a lot of water in the spring versus irrigation practices that might actually let the trees dry out for a while and then actually put irrigation on affect the development of the root system down into the soil and also the spread of the root system. And our data very nicely shows what we kind of suspected already, but if you don't irrigate in the spring, or if you limit irrigation in the spring, you will get a much deeper root system. And also, if you spread the water around further, so you say you use micro sprinklers versus drip, you get a much broader developed root system. And we tend to think that those two things, much better spread into the soil and a deeper root system, are of course beneficial for the tree once the tree is fully mature.
Certainly. And those are great findings. And of course, the broader goal of this research is to translate these findings into practical recommendations for almond growers. So how do you envision this research actually influencing some future orchard management practices, potentially improving almond yields?
Yeah, so there's two parts to our study. One of them is to kind of look at how irrigation practices affect root development.
Mhm.
So a major thing that we're finding is that how you irrigate the tree, particularly when it's young, is really going to affect what the root development is for the tree once it's mature. So we expect that it might change some people's irrigation practices and actually hold off on overwatering in the spring. The other question we've had is whether it matters whether the tree originates from a seed, where the first root tends to go fairly vertical, versus a root system that's developed from tissue culture, where the first roots go very horizontal. And the jury is still out on that kind of data, but certainly we find very large differences in root development between tissue culture produced rootstocks versus seedling produced rootstocks.